Fire Emblem The Sacred Stones has recently arrived to the Nintendo Switch Game Boy Advance collection. While it is a nice game from an era when Nintendo was barely confident about the viability of tactical RPGs outside Japan, there has not been much new for TRPGs in that charming 2D sprite art style that deliver the same vibes. Many of the higher profile games of the genre have gone 3D, but for those looking for that classic sprite look, consider the indie game Dark Deity 2. TRPGs in a fantasy setting seem to all have the same bullet points for a plot, and so does this game. Building tension, undermining schemes, warfare on the continent, some interdimensional travel, and a general happily ever after ending. Of course, the details matter, and it is where Dark Deity 2's greatest strengths are found. It is a very good narrative, but what stands out is how fascinatingly consistent the narrative maintains its quality and flow. Sure, it is a continent that will inevitably end up in warfare like all of them, but the plot has perfectly placed calmer and comic relief segments in between the escalation. The conflict and tension has a gradual build that is never rushed nor slows to a drag at any point. There are major story decisions that can be made, and the impact is minor to moderate, though the impact of a decision may not be seen for many chapters. Most of the characters have very good writing and dialogue in the main story segments. About half of them are the standard fantasy types, with traits exaggerated just enough to be charming, but restrained enough to not be annoying. A few characters have personalities that are an interesting mix of fantasy cliches and current-day quips, but somehow, Dark Deity 2 manages to strike a very rare and excellent balance with this mix. The quips and millennial humor never get overbearing. Topping it all off are surprisingly excellent performances by the voice actors. Things that could be improved with the story or characters mostly come down to nitpicking and one's preferences on personalities. When the party is in crisis, they tend to get a little too overdramatic. The support conversations are not voiced and do not quite have enough charm to help the characters stand out if they are no longer actively appearing in the story. The character art and designs are excellent. They are stylish and very reflective of their personalities, but have tasteful restraint. Now, it's not a collection of gacha characters, but there is an emphasis that these are characters through their actions, dialogue, and accompanying looks, and not doubling down on exaggerating cliché archetypes. The map layouts and sprites are nice, being both nostalgic and created to crisp modern standards. The sprite animations during combat sequences are quite good, and get rather elaborate, and maybe a touch over the top, with the highest tier classes. If you have played Fire Emblem before, this game very much has the same core and unit concepts. It is easy to adjust to if you come from those games. The decorative stuff is the flashy and powerful abilities, weapon runes, and effects of enchanted rings. On the other hand, there are no in-battle items one can use. Gameplay is where Dark Deity 2 feels the most normal and perhaps at times unremarkable. For those who have not played TRPGs before, and specifically Fire Emblem, tutorials are almost non-existent. They are just brief text pages. The UI preparation menus are somewhat confusing to navigate the first several times, but thankfully the menus don't go too deep. To be clear, this game may not have spectacular innovation or flashy gimmicks, but fundamentally, it plays very well and competently. There are 4 preset difficulty settings, plus custom sliders for those who want their challenges tuned to a precise amount. The game can be set as a relaxing experience, a traditional TRPG challenge, or a high-stakes, unforgiving playthrough. Overall, the greatest strength of Dark Deity 2 is in its story, characters, and voice acting performances. It is a solid benchmark of taking the immovable story bullet points that almost every game of its genre has, and doing it in a quality and charming way to make it stand out. The gameplay is sound and generally familiar. Perhaps some more risks and uniqueness can be had with the gameplay. With how difficult it is to make innovations for TRPGs, everything here works well enough. Topping it all off, this is a nearly 20-hour game that, at the time of this review, is available for $25 US. It is a spectacular value for a game that provides equal parts that nostalgic 2D tactical RPG nostalgia with current-day sensibilities and narrative. In a moment where latest game pricing announcements have caused a lot of grief, Dark Deity 2 is an excellent example of what indies can bring for value and niches in gaming.